So
That might be a night fight.
How long is their list?
Hi, Jim. Hi, everyone.
Pretty long.
Brian? I see Brenia. There you are. Well, I guess we can get started. This is for the Grant County, Washington Limited Tax General Obligation rating presentation to the rating analysts with Standard & Poor's. And why don't we start out with the commissioners and staff just to go around the table and introduce themselves.
Good afternoon. It is Friday, March 21st, 2025, 1 p.m. and we are here with D.A. Davidson for a limited tax general obligation bond finance rating presentation. I'm Commissioner Rob Jones, current chair of Grant County Board of County Commissioners.
I'm Kevin Burgess, new county commissioner here in Grant County.
I'm Daryl Pheasant. I'm the county treasurer in my 39th year. I think I see at least one person I recognize from our last time, from our last presentation. So look forward to giving you an update of what's happening in Grant County.
Hi, I'm Michelle Jagerlin, Grant County Auditor at the county for going on 34 years and on my third term.
I'm Mandy Kim. I'm the CFO. I've been here less than a year.
I'm Melissa McKnight. I'm the assessor and I have been here since 2015.
I'm Tom Gaines. I'm the Director of Central Services, and I'm in my 13th year here with Grant County.
We also have Commissioner Cindy Carter online.
Yep, this is Cindy Carter, Grant County Commissioner since 2007.
And Tom is actually the person that's been in charge of the whole, all the jail construction oversight over the general contractor. So Tom knows how the project's going and quite visible to the public driving by and looking really good.
We've been actively engaged on social media and so far people are pretty happy with it, and we're running on time and well under budget. So all
excellent.
Positive. All positive.
And Brian, why don't you tell us your background and then tell us the key factors that you focus on, and then Brenia can talk about her background after that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jim. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, good to see a lot of familiar names. I was the primary rating on the previous one and will be the primary on this rating as well. Been with S&P for over 14 years, worked primarily on Western states with all local governments. Just looking forward to hear updates on the county. So for the county under the new criteria, there's some similar factors, a couple of new ones. We'll be looking at the the county's economic metrics, financial performance, reserves liquidity, debt and liabilities, and also financial management, as well as the institutional framework for the county. With that, the five main factors that I mentioned beginning, it's equally weighted now. Before our economy, I believe, was 30%. Now it's 20% across the board. So those factors, including the institutional framework, or IF, will determine the county's rating under new criteria. Some differences that we look at for reserves: before we used to look at it as a percentage of expenditures. Now it's a percentage of revenues, and also financial performance. It's a measure of 3-year average, the latest 3-year average of operating performance, or in your case, current expense performance, over the previous 3 years, the average of the 3 years. And yeah, that's the general overview of the new criteria. But at the end, I can answer any questions if there are any. And at this time, I'll hand it over to my colleague Brenia.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brenia Gordon. I've been with S&P for 3 years, based out of Chicago. I work primarily within the West region, California, Washington, and Montana, and I also have a small portfolio within the Midwest, and I look forward to getting an update today.
Great. Well, with that, we'll turn to page 1 and have Tom Gaines do a brief introduction on the key credit strengths for Grant County.
You bet, and thank you again for meeting with us today. I know it's everybody's Friday. I'd also like to recognize that Brent Mayo has joined us, Grant County's Economic Development Director. So good to see him. And this presents an opportunity to talk about our credit development since the last time we did this in 2022. Since then, we've had $629 million of new construction since 2023. We continue to have a diverse local economy with a focus on agriculture, food processing, energy-intensive technology, and manufacturing. And we do have a strong, stable current expense fund reserve position of $27.5 million, which is 46.6% of the current expense fund expenditures, and a road fund reserve position of $8.9 million, which constitutes 46.2%. We do have a strong pledge of the county's current expense fund for the LTGO bonds, plus a share of a 0.3% sales tax increase that we passed. We have a really experienced people in management with a history of conservative financial practices, and we have less than 1% of debt, when compared to the county's assessed value. And with that, I'm going to let Jim Nelson talk about the bonds.
Thank you, Tom. Turning to page 2. So Brian and Brittany are hoping to receive the rating around April 1st. The bond sale to price the bonds and set the final interest rate scheduled for April 24th. Closing and wiring of bond proceeds is May 14th. Again, the purpose of this financing is for the jail improvements and then a morgue. And then we talk about the security of the bonds. You can see that paragraph. Similar to the last rating presentation, this is a limited tax general obligation bond secured by the county's current expense fund and other revenues. And so if we turn to page 3, you see the paragraph. From a budgeting standpoint, the county is really focused in on using the voter-approved law and justice sales tax, 0.3%. It does not have a sunset date. And as of December 31st, 2024, there was $13 million in the Law and Justice Fund. To date, Tom Gaines tells me that the county has spent about $68.7 million on the jail. And then this second series will fund an additional $60 million on the jail. That'll be financed over 35.6 years. And then the morgue will be financed. It's another $6 million that'll be financed over 10.6 years. If we turn to page 4, worked closely with Daryl Pheasant, the county treasurer, on this model, and Daryl gave all the updates and blessed it. But you can see that to the left-hand column there in green is the estimated law and justice sales tax revenue and how that's projected to grow basically over 36 years plus. And again, there's no sunset date on this law and justice sales tax. So then you see the first series the county did in 2022, add in this second series as far as the jail portion to fund the $60 million. And then that gives you your estimated combined annual payment. And then you got the surplus remaining. So you do see 5 years there where it's not quite covering it. But I understand that the county does have, $13 million in that fund that can easily cover that, as well as other tax revenues available to the county. And then after that, you can see the surpluses that accumulate. So it's likely that the county at some point will be using some of that money to pay down the debt, shorten up the financing term. But by financing it longer, it doesn't put as much pressure on the county. I guess any questions on that page?
No questions. Thanks.
Okay. If we turn to page 5, you can see the estimated payment schedule for the morgue. And again, that's financed over a shorter period of time, and that's just being paid from the current expense fund and other revenues.
Actually, just to be, we have a different revenue source for the morgue that we've examined and its obligations against that fund, and see that we were able to, with what we have available each year extra from revenue. That revenue source was able to fit it in a shorter time period of 10 years versus the 12 or 15 years. So we feel with that different revenue source than the jail bond sales tax monies that's coming in, that we're very confident in having those monies be dedicated for this. And we were lucky that we saw that we could easily meet a 10-year time period for financing that particular project.
Thank you, Daryl. Turning to page 6, we'll turn it back over to Tom Gaines.
Sure, just a little bit about the county itself. Its location. It's in the middle of the state. If you're familiar with Washington, you have the Cascade Range. We're just east of that Cascade Range. We're 2.5 hours from Seattle, 2 hours from Spokane. It encompasses 2,681 square miles of land. It's the 4th largest county in the state land-wise. And we have about 105,000 residents, with Ephrata being the county seat. And that's us. I'm going to give it to you.
All right, Grant County is a general purpose government, provides following services of sheriff and law enforcement, fire prevention, road improvement, judicial administration, health and social services, recreation, general administrative services, sanitary, landfill, we don't operate transfer stations. The county government also provides services including property assessment, tax services, issuance of permits, licenses, elections. Executive, legislative, and policymaking body is the Board of County Commissioners, which is Cindy Carter, Kevin Burgess, and myself, elected by the county. We serve 4-year terms. We meet every Monday and Tuesday. During these meetings, we have updates with every department and elected official in Grant County. So one question that was asked was, how often do we talk about our finances? Every single week, multiple times a day. And then we also have our budget finance meetings monthly. We're located in the city of Ephrata, and our current elected official chart is listed below. You guys have this chart in front of you, I imagine, so you can see that we have 2 commissioners here for 4 more years. 1 commissioner would be rerunning or not in 2026, and the other electeds are listed also. We have the county auditor, which is Michelle Jadalin, elected November of 2014. We have the county treasurer, Daryl Pheasant, who was elected in 1985 and has been in the position 39 years. We have the county assessor, Melissa McKnight, who was elected in November of 2014. We have myself. I was elected in 2020 and represent District 2 on the Board of County Commissioners. We have Commissioner Cindy Carter, who was elected in 2006 and is the longest seated female commissioner in Washington State, representing District 3. We have Commissioner Kevin Burgess, who is serving his 1st term and represents District 1, which is Ephrata, some of Moses Lake, and the northern parts of the county. Do you have any questions on any of the elected officials or commissioners?
Oh, no. Sorry, no questions. No.
You're good.
Okay. Well, I'll talk a little bit about our facilities. We're comprised of numerous facilities around the county. Where we're sitting today is the original courthouse, well, the 2nd courthouse. It was built in 1917. It has been continually operated since it opened in 1917. It is on the National Register of Historic Places. It's a 3-story building that houses our district court, our law library, county auditor and elections office, a human resources department, my office. And in the 1950s, due to the growth of the county, we added an annex building on the back of that, which contains our county commissioners, the assessor, treasurer, technical services, accounting, and the civil division of our prosecuting attorney's office and public defense. And in 1986, because of still continued growth, we added a criminal justice facility on the back of that. And that contains our superior courts, our sheriff's office, our maximum security jail, our prosecutor's office, and our clerk's office. The sheriff also has a substation in Moses Lake, and we have a minimum security jail in the Ephrata Port District. We have Development Services, which handles our building and fire and GIS planning departments, who continues to set revenue records because of, new permits for residential and commercial construction. It just doesn't stop. Our public works facilities are located about a mile from the courthouse campus in the Ephrata Port District. And they have a main office with a building and a central shop. They also have various shops around the county in Moses Lake, Quincy, Heartline, Grant, Orchards, Mattawa, and Soap Lake. It's a big county. And we've got a great fairgrounds facilities that's had upgrades completed in 2008, 2009. It's got a number of enclosed buildings, multiple barns, 3 newly constructed barns, 2 large pavilion buildings, and a rodeo facility that gets used in August for a really great rodeo. And the fairgrounds, I would add, I don't think we can get another event scheduled. It just continues to grow, and as a favorite of the community. Earlier, we talked about the population being 105,000 in Grant County, and our 4-day county fair will see almost that population come through our fair. It's great. We also have a mental health facility that's located in a 2-story building in Moses Lake, and an emergency management building both here and in, they've got a small office in Moses Lake, a district court in Moses Lake, and a former medical center, a wing of the medical center in Moses Lake that houses our coroner's office. And I'm going to give it to you, Daryl.
Oh, and we're on page 11.
12.
So, in regards to debt, and this is actually for Jim, our capacity definitely shows that we haven't tapped what we could have tapped, and we're very comfortable with this new level, and have nothing in the works to incur more financing. We have some things we continually look at what we have and continually look at the future, but we haven't had any decisions to do anything because of the large growth of the county. The county, a lot of different things. We're going to have, it's sort of like the economic takeaway from Brent, just to build into this, what's this growth is, of course, we have a brand new hospital district being built in Quincy. And then we have this brand new hospital being built in Moses Lake. And so these are investments in the communities of this county that show how that everyone needs to be prepared for, the county and everyone of the growth. So it doesn't have nothing to do with what the chart has to do. So if we go to page 13, then we have already talked about our what we want, and what we plan, and how we want to pay it over a time period of what we currently have in our debt service. But it's actually the thing. Just to focus on, just to bring it up, we chose those 5 years to be in the negative because first thing is we have this $13 million. That's being and then the new revenues every year of that almost of the same amount. And so we're going to be tapping some of that to pay the difference in our interest only payments because it's just a matter of having to manage growth and not needing that and not having to tap and just that we feel we can do that and not even have, and we still have the current expense fund as still a backup to even that. So it's just, when we talk about the current expense fund, revenues and stuff like that, we have all these other revenue sources to pay this debt. And so that's just, of course, the backup, the collateral we're putting in on top of this, but we have a good revenue income coming in from the main sources. We wanted to have those 5 years just be interest only so that we got more, and on the 5th year be a reduced principal. So we can actually meet the expected growth. I heard you mention that we're going on the average the last 3 years. And I say, wow, because the last 3 years has been crazy. And so that's definitely to our favor. Even so we had this discussion in 22, all these things are happening. But the last 3 years is just been a huge revenue growth what's going on in our county and the huge valuation growth that you'll get to soon in this presentation of all the things that are happening. So I probably went off everything that we had in this because I'm the person who just talks off the cuff. So I don't know where I got us off the track here, but I'll try to stay more focused.
No, sounds great, Daryl. We're on page 14 now.
Okay. Well, actually, in a way, that should be Melissa to talk about what's going on with our largest taxpayers.
So all of our large taxpayers here, every single one of these are actually assessed by the state. And I can tell you right now, Microsoft is still growing and continue to grow. They're literally in every data center we have over in every data center we have here in Grant County, Microsoft is in. They're very good taxpayers to have. They work with us and they don't complain. Our industries are growing. The Port of Quincy and the Port of Moses Lake are constantly bringing people in, and there's a lot of growth and building going on right now over in Moses Lake. The port's even going to be building out a railroad spur to bring more industry in. We have, which is causing a lot of housing issues. So we have a lot of housing going on in just about every city in the county. Even small places like Mattawa, Royal City, Quincy's constantly we've got plats. We can't keep up with them. So a lot of new construction, not only just in this, but also in the residential area and side of things. So slow, steady growth. It's a good thing. There's our housing market has grown hugely in the last 5 to 6 years. We can't keep up in the market. Medium price that we see on the market, low end is anything about 350,000. We typically are seeing houses mostly in the 450 to 500,000 range, and or more, and they're still selling. Crazy.
And to follow up with what Melissa's saying, is the plat is also a predictor of future growth, and the more plats that happen, the more people are investing in believing that housing is still, in the whole world, housing is always a problem. But, so that's happening. It's really good. Actually, just in the last year, our valuation increased by $1.3 billion. And so it was a very good increase. And most of it was, and only a portion of that was new construction. And so actually new construction is going quite well this year for industry and residential. So I'm expecting that to be higher than this. And so we're still seeing larger overall property tax value. I keep seeing when it comes over the counter, people look at sales prices because there's a delay in the valuation process. The sales, a majority of the sales that I see over the counter, what's being paid versus the assessed value is still way over. So it hasn't slowed down to an evening or plateauing. There is not a plateau happening right now with property sales. All we need is, just like everyone else, need lower interest rates, which will create the whole new sales spur of people thinking about selling and buying, and that new growth of people thinking about things. Right now everyone's sitting on their great low value mortgage rates, and so just like everyone else, just that we need some interest rates to go down, and then we're going to have a lot more sales going on in our county, just like everyone else. So.
Great. And then Daryl, do you want to touch on the county's tax collection record on the bottom half of page 14?
Yes, and of course, we're into a new property tax software that we started at the end of 23. with our growth, you can see actually, with the growth, you can actually then reflect it in our levy rate, of how our levy rate keeps dropping each year. And it was a little bit lower for 25. But you can see that that we actually did not take in the monies that we could have for 24, but for 25 from the current expense fund, it was decided to grab that most of that bank capacity that we have for the 25 tax year. So then our collection rates is, of course, it hardly changes at all. You know, some people will pay, and the people who didn't pay will then pay. It's just a good mix, but a very consistent mix. And in fact, in regards to a foreclosure process, speaking of the worst case scenarios, is actually our foreclosure sale that we had. Last one was actually had the least amount of parcels in the sale that we've ever had. And so, which means is more people are definitely not wanting to give up the properties, and we'll do things to protect them out of that. So we're very happy that our foreclosure sales have been successful in getting payment of taxes. You want me to go to 15?
Yep, that'd be great.
All right. What we've shown is, of course, since we've had 22, we've shown the large trend increase of sales tax. Sales tax definitely has been going crazy. You know, one thing I'm not sure is going to be in the presentation is Grant Transit. Of course, there a lot of money's flowing into there for providing transportation needs which is really tough for a large county. But the revenues for Grant Transit have been going in so well that a lot of things been rethink on what to charge and when not to charge for fares. So to get around this county from the many communities that are distant from each other. You can see our sales tax growth has been quite very well over these last 3 years. Just pretty much any category that's purely based on sales tax has had a lot of great growth over this. In fact, with that growth is our projections for when we first were projecting 22, our growth for the dedicated revenue source of our jail tax, we blew that away from what we were projecting back then of what the revenues would come in. So the monies that come in, which created better opportunities for this refinancing. So those revenues came in quite well. So we have all these different taxes that, as you can see, have been growing quite a bit in this county, and of course the change in how people spend their money and doing online has been very beneficial to rural counties for themselves, is because instead of that money going to local tax going to the cities that have all those malls, now a lot of that local tax on purchases online are now going to the location where a lot of these people live out in the county. That change of spending habits has been very helpful to many rural counties like ours. So that's been a positive, and so we just have to see what the future markets is and how things play out in our current United States to see how much growth we have in the near time, and I'll be still very confident for over time that with our population continually growing, that our sales tax growth will continue that way as well.
Thank you, Daryl. Caitlin, I think we can skip ahead to page 18 and have Daryl talk there on the second half of the page on the historical taxable retail sales and the growth.
And just to continue on, of course, is your two main cities, but actually in Quincy is another one, but their sales tax growth has been based a lot more on their industries versus a broader. So that Moses Lake and Ephrata, of course, Ephrata is in the tough position of being a government town. So they don't have all these things happening. So their growth, their sales tax growth over time is the people. And so of course there's a lot of housing going up in Ephrata, a lot of apartment complexes going up in Ephrata. Ephrata is now putting in a brand new water tower to improve water water services to certain sections of town. So they're in the middle of working on how to handle their growth. So these are three types of entities. The county is a cross section of what's going on, and the city of Moses Lake is a very diverse, with a lot of businesses and residential purchases and where the stores are at, but where still a lot of purchases online are going to the people inside the city. So I think those are actually very, very good indicators of three unique scenarios of what's in this county for the taxable sales that are happening.
Thank you, Daryl. We'll turn to page 19. And I don't know who wants to lead off, either Daryl or Mandy, just kind of giving an overview on the numbers, and then I guess answering any specific questions the S&P analysts might have on the numbers.
And yeah, we were reviewing the numbers this week, and I found that we had a certain number that was getting mixed in. That was where, well, our state audit reports and annual reports have these numbers in them. For this purpose, I had to divest those numbers out of this to be straight about the current expense fund and that. And so those were in the dark pink. That was fixed. Those are to show up in the later schedule to be updated for a 10-year projection. But in actuality, for the current expense fund itself, we were at around $27.5 million in cash, in carry balance. One thing to note, that is one thing our county has to deal with that no other county in the state has had to deal with, is having too much money. And so there's a law that caps how much we can carry over into each year. So we are blessed with this curse of having to figure out what to do with the extra money that we get. And this last 34 years have put us in a position of having to make decisions of how to move all this revenue that was outpacing the expenses. So we have some, we could have a lot more money if we didn't have to move these monies. And as you can see, we're over the 40% rate anyway. And we have a policy of 20% as a carryover, but we haven't been close to that number over these 3 years. But right now, in our last budget meeting for 25, we decided that we just shouldn't be hoarding and doing something with the money instead of just sitting on it. And so there is right now, the latest budget, and for talk about the future budget, is to start moving, reducing that carryover balance. And that's why when we get the 10-year projection, we show a decrease in getting down to our 20% limit, of which then that where our current policy at. So that is a nice problem to have, is to have a lot more money carryover than counties larger than us. And there's a lot of counties where their reserve policy is under 5%. And so it's a little easier to do budgeting, but we are definitely switching over that we really need to have a gradual decrease of our reserves and finding the best way to use those monies in a sustainable way. So I just wanted to alert you, and so that part in pink is just, we corrected that number to be a pure current expense number, not a current expense in another department on that. It's kind of tough to look at these in 2 pages, but
Brian, did you have any questions on page 19?
Not a whole lot. Just basically a couple of just the high level drivers of the unaudited 2024 results. And I had the question about the 25 budget, but I believe Daryl just explained the reasoning that we gradually spending down those higher reserves. It sounds like starting in 2025 and then over the next several years as well. But just maybe a couple of drivers for the surplus in 2024.
2024 had an unexpected profit due to spending less than budgeted, specifically employee positions that went unfilled in the year. The sheriff office has budgeted a lot of personnel anticipation for the opening the jail that they have not yet filled, and that was part of the large surplus for 2024.
But also again, and how we budgeted for 25 was the expectation of those positions being filled. Will that happen all in 1 year? It's tough, hiring in a county that's like ours in the middle of the state, hour away from certain more metropolitan areas is a little less attractive in hiring. But they've made a lot of success in the first 3 months, actually, for this year in getting some hiring done. But we're budgeting for, if we hired on day one, we expected all his positions. So we don't expect to be spending, we expect some reductions in that salary area of our budget for 25.
I think it's been a difficult recruiting effort for corrections and law enforcement, all across the West Coast. It's been really hard to fill those positions and just to find recruits that want to fill them. So that was part of it too.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's all the questions I have on finances.
Next page 20 shows the road fund.
So the one thing about the road fund is we've never had to consider, we've never had the desire to do a road levy shift because our roads are quite a bit as important. With all this is of course is farm to market and getting for transportation needs. So our public works departments have been quite successful in getting a lot of grants and matching monies and things like that for upgrades. They got some big projects they're working on to create new thoroughfares of some connections that will help get one part of the county to another in a much quicker fashion. So is there any, do you want to talk about any major road projects that you got for this year? Or having plans?
Well, we have West Shore Drive expansion taking place, which will access up to several hundred new home sites potentially in the next, in 1 to 2 years.
I think they have plans for the next couple of years out there.
Yeah, and then we have Drumheller Road connection, which is another north-south corridor that's going from I-90 to Highway 17 closer to Ephrata. Kind of an idea to get some better transportation to our ports and around Moses Lake, generating better travel. The commissioners have put some funds into road projects outside of the road fund also because we have had healthy budgets. Building up around the Gorge Amphitheater area for better access for concert attendees to try to get them in and around our county. I don't know if you guys know, but the Gorge concert venue has over 500,000 attendees a year. That area was the #1 destination worldwide for Airbnb in 2024. So we put some funds there trying to help that area. And those are the main road projects.
Yeah, right now, of course, they're doing a major construction of the Vantage Bridge. That is, hopefully we'll have better weekend opportunities because that is, it also definitely shows how Grant County is in the middle of the freeway of a major thoroughfare of what goes through has to go through our county, and that starts from that bridge from the west side. People have to get over to the east side is going over that bridge. And so there's been a lot of delays, which also shows how important that bridge makes the project gets finally done.
Sounds great. Turning to page 21. Daryl, you're on a roll. You can talk about the 10-year financial projection of the current expense fund.
Okay. Let's see, it's closer to the baseline latest numbers. Yeah, it is closer. Okay, yeah, so in reviewing, one of the things is, and obviously it's hard to do a projection of, we have certain rates of growth. I looked at some of the growth factors and have some different time periods that I've grown faster, even though the last 3 years have been just huge growth in our major categories. We're of course focused on our responsibility to the taxpayer as well, that we are spending the monies and not just getting the monies and sitting on them. You know, that if we don't need the money, then of course, then we shouldn't be taxed in the first place. But so we have these projections going down. Of course, the local, the Fed monies are ending at the end of this year at the very bottom. Criminal justice tax, sales taxes reflecting tapping into that money for those 5 years for our shortages and how those balances go down a little bit each of those years and then go start zooming back up in regards to the cash balance of that sales tax fund. And of course, the Law and Justice Fund actually gets dedicated. There's a separate Law and Justice monies that we get from the state that is for a lot of other capital needs or annual equipment needs, one-time needs versus ongoing needs that are spent for those monies. So I spent a lot of time trying to get an idea of what our growth is in our different revenue counts and trying to look at it as are these numbers reasonable? And that's where I've gotten to these points. And that's part of the goal last year by the commissioners is to start working down on getting down to reserves and get down to 20%, and then we need the whole study and be like other counties where we need to take a look at leaving the reserves alone and spending with the revenues what we have. And so that'll occur down the road. What year that starts? Looks like it starts in year 2030. So in 5 years, the board at that time will be looking at what do we want to do with the limited resources and how do we keep things under control for expense side. Of course, we have a lot of other revenue sources that have been very helpful in filling in for spots, and we do that anyway each year. So we hope that we can utilize those and actually have these numbers be a little bit higher on the carryover reserve that we're projecting in the future. The hardest category, just to let you know, the hardest category to try to project is, of course, the other decreases in fund resources. That actually is a year-to-year decision. Is you take a look at is there money spend needs, and that would be the that's the sort of that number can go up and down. If the money's not there, then it's not going to be part of the budget to spend and put that money in a different fund. So that was the hardest part of this, is that other decreases in fund and trying to provide a projection on that one, because that one is so annualized versus a consistent number over time. So that was the toughest number to project the behaviors of commissioners in the future. Any of those numbers?
Questions, Brian or Brenia?
No questions.
Thank you.
Page 22, talking about cybersecurity.
You bet. So you've got the page in front of you. I could read that off, but instead of reading that off, I think I'll say, so one of my mantras here is I'll never let technology be a reason that people don't want to come to work. We're in Microsoft's backyard. So we provide a very robust network and a lot of robust peripherals for people to use. We provide network operations for the city of Soap Lake, Borden PD, the fire districts. With that comes a heightened sense of security for cybersecurity. We do have a complex environment and we have a robust cybersecurity footprint. We do work with state, local, federal, and private partners. And we have numerous layers. We regularly test. We have pen testing that's done multiple times a year when most counties only do it once a year. And we regularly update our elected officials on cyber threats, cybersecurity, where we're at, what the current threat landscape is. And it's something that we take very seriously here. We just updated our latest incident response plan, which we do every year, and do cyber incident drills. So I think for cybersecurity, Grant County is one of the more robust counties in the state of Washington, and we take a lot of pride in providing good technology and a safe environment.
To reinforce what he just said is that actually on the previous spreadsheet, we actually have a larger decrease transfer out, and a big portion of that money is going to TS for not just normal payroll, but a lot of infrastructure cost and getting our computers to be more prepared for cybersecurity. So that was one of the one-time costs that would show up as a big expense for 25's budget. So it's, we're demonstrating that we're taking that very seriously.
I think from there, Jim, I think unless they have any questions, I think we move to the economy with Brent and others.
Yeah,
no
sounds like
questions,
starting on page 23, we'll hand it off to Brant.
All right, well, thank you for this opportunity to talk about what I love talking about, Grant County, and all the cool things that are happening. I think Daryl and Melissa and actually Commissioner Jones hit on some of this. So you've got a ton of information in front of you. I'm going to kind of give you some highlights, and feel free to ask any questions as I move forward. So Tom touched on kind of the county and the size of us. And I would say one thing in there that's super unique to us is that we have 10 inland port districts. Those are public entities that have really unique, kind of diverse set of economic development tools. And most of our ports are extremely aggressive, building out infrastructure, recruiting, trying to improve our tax base and our jobs in our county. So good partners of ours, again, super unique to our area. Go ahead and keep scrolling the page there. I would say the one thing that really makes Grant County unique is for a county of a little over 100,000 people, as you know, is our diversity. It's exciting. It's been a long time vision of county leaders to really diversify kind of who and what we are here. Agriculture is our backbone. We grow over 70 plus crops. Currently, we're the leading potato producing county in the nation. And we also are continuing to try to foster that. We've got irrigation projects, Columbia Basin project, that has the possibility in the short and long-term future to double our irrigated acres, which would increase those opportunities for our farmers. That leads to food processing, which we're a capital of also. If you've had a French fry, it's probably come from Grant County. We have a ton of potato processors, a lot of other vegetables, fruit processors, other commodities too, as far as agriculture, hay, alfalfa press, cubers, those types of things. So a longstanding sector in our area. We also have a growing and budding manufacturing that I think that some of them kind of alluded to. We've got some older foreign direct investment that's been in the area, in the Moses Lake area. And a lot of that is processes that take a lot of power. So we've got Chemicon and Moses Lake Industries and Joyson and others that are in there that provide great jobs and great tax base. But we've also seen a real influx in green technology, clean tech. And that's been purposeful by the county and our partners to effort those, especially in Washington State. And so we've had a lot of success in that. And I'll talk about some of that growth here as we move forward. We've also got an aerospace cluster. We've got Boeing. They're currently sitting about 650 employees here. They were up to about 900. They've got a facility here. We've got one of the largest airports in the nation as far as runways, over 13,000 square feet. It's been a backup site for space shuttles and Air Force One and all that. Is where B-52 bombers were commissioned, so it's a great asset for us. It's an innovative hub for us in Grant County. We've had the first hybrid electric air flight, the first all electric air flight, the first hydrogen air flight. A lot of those. We've also got a space company here, Stoke Space, which is creating fully reusable rockets. They've got about 75 employees now, and are looking to expand. And we've also got some other Air Force or aerospace entities here that are continuing to expand in the area because of the great assets that we have. And then, of course, we have our data center cluster. We've got currently 7 of them in Quincy, 1 in Moses Lake. And I think, as Melissa alluded to, they're all looking to expand and grow with the development of AI and all of that. That's not going away. And so we're trying to continue to look for ways to help them grow and improve. So they've been great partners, and we look forward to that. So again, just the amount of diversity we have for a rural county is just amazing. And it's been a lot of hard work, but we're continuing to push forward that. One of the things that really helps our growth and diversity is quality of life. So great recreation, tourism, tons of lakes, golf courses, wineries, hiking trails, all of that, hunting, fishing. It's a great quality of life here. Our transportation sector. We've got obviously the airport, like we talked about. We've got a couple other smaller municipal airports too that are quite large for their areas. We've got new rail expansion coming in from Moses Lake out to the port of Moses Lake, which will connect about 2,000 industrial acres out there to the rail, which will help us market that. We're on major highways and freeways that help our transit. We're close to the Port of Seattle, where we can get to the deep sea ports, and trade is one of our exporting is one of our largest economic drivers here in Grant County. And also, we've got great workforce partners. We've got a community college here in Moses Lake that's got a workforce education center. They're continuing to develop curriculum and programs for our industries here. We've got a Columbia Basin Technical School, which basically feeds into the college a lot of times, and that's for our juniors and seniors, and that's getting on-hand training, whether it's welding or medical, coding, culinary, lots of different programs there. And we also have great partnerships with our K through 12 programs. We have a Job Corps, which is a federal program in our county, along with our other partners is Employment Security Department and others. So we're really able to attract just a ton of different companies, again, because of our diversity and our partners. That a lot of them are here today, but throughout the county that we've fostered really well. Jim, if you want to go to the population trend there, I can quickly. Yep. All right, we're on track a little bit. So again, you can see the growth there, and we're projecting to stay on that same pace, if not expand a little bit on that over the next 5 to 10 years. So yeah, I think that's pretty explanatory, and I think we get into assessed values next, Jim, I think, which I think Melissa kind of handled. I don't know, Melissa, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Before we get to that, let me add to what Grant was saying is the Grant County PUD is a major economic driver, because right now there's such a backlog of demand for energy, for new industries wanting to come here. But the problem is it's just generating the power versus actually having to buy outside our area and see what attract, because our county's been very attractive for its low cost power. And so we're pretty much growing into our own power where not as much sales is happening outside, because our county is using most of what we're generating. And so that's there's a big demand. If we had a lot of very unlimited power, we'd have so much more going on here. We had that power at the level that made us attractive. And so right now, that they're sort of like slowing us down in what people want to do for this county, trying to be more efficient with their power generation, their ownership of the dam, the public's ownership of the dams for this county. And so that's a great, definitely great wish list of people who want to be here.
Yeah, I can expand on that too a little bit. So to put some numbers to that, so our county peaks a little over 1,000 megawatts, and that's all of our county, all of our manufacturers running, everybody running their ACs, all of that stuff. We've got roughly 3,000 megawatts of requests in our queue right now, so 3 times our current load. So that gives a little insight to what Daryl's talking about there. And the PUD is working on transmission and generation. They just bought a bunch of acreage just north in the county where they're probably will end up doing a small modular reactor farm out there to increase our generation. And then they're continuing to work on transmission throughout the county also. And then some of our private, like I said, the ports have unique authority. They're working with some private partners on some short-term gap stuff, power-wise, to continue this growth that we're seeing. So we've got lots of irons in the fire and trying to push that forward. But Daryl is right. We are turning down projects at this point in time because of some of that, some of the immense requests. So, so I guess back to Melissa. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about on the? I know you kind of touched on the assessed value earlier.
Actually, I'm just looking at the numbers that you have here. I haven't seen in the 10-year span, we've doubled our assessed value. So, we have so many projects going on right now. We do make sure that we go out and we're looking at every brand new construction project. We pick it up. If it's not finished, we pick it up at a percentage. It'll be up again next year and probably the year after that, barring anything horrible. So, I mean, it would be a total social collapse if it, we can't keep up. We're in the conversion process right now. We're still working on our conversion process so we can have actually field modules so we can be entering in the field to quicken things up. We're hoping to have that by the time we go out for new construction. So that way we'll be able to pick it up even faster. So the numbers will be up next year.
All right, next page, I think, is major employers, and again, you can see the list, but I guess the one thing I would highlight again, and it's kind of beating the drum, is just the diversification here. I mean, you've got government, public, manufacturing, aerospace, data centers, food processor, agriculture companies, all in our top 10 or 15 here. So again, we're not dependent on one industry, and if something goes sideways, we're going to be able to weather storms and continue to grow at the pace we have, and I think that's been our secret here. So I think housing's next, Jim, if you're whoever's, So I think Melissa touched on some of this again earlier, so I don't know if we need to go over it again. If you want to keep scrolling, I think, yep, that's fine. And then so I guess as far as developments, we've highlighted a few here, but I would say again that the one thing that's super good for us to see is we've got a number of new developers that have come into the area. So it's not one or two that are kind of doing the heavy lifting throughout the areas. And it's also, we are extremely diverse as far as what communities are going into. All of our communities have development projects currently, not just Moses Lake and Quincy, the two that are seeing some of the growth in the industries. Warden and Royal City and Mattawa, Ephrata, they're all having new homes built, 30 to 40 houses at a time. So it's just great growth. Plus, we've seen an influx of multifamily dwellings too. So which is helping keep that rent cost at bay there and not continuing to grow. So, and I would say most of these developers too are obviously extremely focused on affordable housing. It's really getting our inventory up to where it needs to be with all this growth, and letting the buyers have a little more advantage there as far as opportunities. And then I think the last thing that I'll highlight is just if we want to kind of scroll through the housing development stuff there. or probably have to keep going. Yeah, right in here. So just to kind of highlight some of the wins, and I think a lot of this is not, as Melissa was talking about, fully on our assessed value yet. So lots to come. So we had a little last year and towards the end of the year before, some announcements from some silicon battery companies. So we've got 3 of them in the area now. 2 are building large facilities. You can see Group 14, BAM. So they've got 2 modules going up now. They have federal funding for 4 more modules that will go behind that, and each one of those produces about 75 to 80 employees. And then they also had a $200 million grant from the Department of Energy for a silane facility, which is some of their feedstock. So they will continue to grow and prosper. The next one down there, picture you can see is Sela Nanotechnology. They bought an existing facility or building, and they are retrofitting that and then building outside of it. And that they also have about 100 or so acres on there that they're expanding and have plans for phase 3 and 4. So they'll continue to grow. We also have 1D, which is the same type. They make the little black powder silicon anode that will replace graphite. And they've got a pilot facility, and they've got about 30 employees now. And their model will be to sell that technology off to a manufacturer, which would probably locate in the Moses Lake area because of our workforce, our synergies, and those areas won't be there yet. So super good. So if you want to keep growing, we also have 12, which is a sustainable aviation fuel company. They're currently building their pilot facility. We just helped them with some state funding of about $1.7 million that will help attract them to build out their phase 1, which would be about 100 employees. They've got partnerships already with Microsoft and Alaskan Airlines, so super great group to work with. Got really happy to have them in the area. Simplot's building a new super plant out in the same area here. Its own freezer unit, and they call it the super plant. So it'll be state-of-the-art food processing facility. We're excited to have that. Okanagan Specialty Fruit, which is out in a different industrial cluster in Moses Lake, just opened last year an apple slicing facility. And so they're about 175 employees now. It's a great company. We talked about the expansions of all of our data centers, not to mention Cyrus One will be opening soon, another data center. And then Amazon is in the area also in Moses Lake, and they're looking to expand their small footprint they have now. Not to mention, they also have built a small warehouse facility with plans to expand that in the future to more of a distribution center. I think Daryl highlighted too some of our medical stuff. Quincy Valley Hospital is building a full new facility. Samaritan Hospital in Moses Lake is building a 175,000 square foot level 4 trauma hospital. Confluence built a new smaller facility. Sorry, I'm kind of moving around here. Columbia Basin Hospital in Ephrata did a full remodel. The Port of Cooley City actually built a new medical clinic with a small library attached. So lots of investment in our healthcare throughout all of our communities. Super excited about that. And I think that's most of it. I guess Live Nation, I think Commissioner Jones talked about as far as what they're doing in their expansion. They're 500,000 visitors a year. But they've also got expansion plans along with the facility next to them, KB, with some hotel growth and others. So I think that kind of caps at least kind of the.
Now, let me add.
Yeah, please.
The Port of Moses Lake created a TIF structure, a tax increment financing, with the goal of bringing in, expanding it, moving a railroad line, closing it down apart and moving it to where all this growth is happening. They expect that there's some clients that will, that want to see it there for them to bring something that has not been disclosed yet of who that is. But they're sure spending a lot of effort getting a new railroad spur right straight through the Wheeler corridor where a lot of these entities are at already, building already, for someone else that's pretty big. And then anyone along the line then also has the opportunity to review and take advantage of having rail as an option for transportation as well for their products. So there's a lot of effort right now going by the Port of Moses Lake to bring in this, get this infrastructure in for something, for someone they're doing it for. Just no one can talk about who that is.
I think that's what I got. Jim, any questions from anybody or a little more explanation on something?
No questions for me.
Okay.
Thanks, Brant. That was great. I guess we'll turn to page 48 and have Tom do the closing.
All right, well, very good. Well, gosh, we've heard a lot. Again, thank you for taking the time on your Friday to join us here for this presentation. The one overriding thing that I've heard today is growth. We have a lot of growth as a county where people and businesses definitely want to be. And that the county itself continues to demonstrate good financial and debt management practices. We have a growing economy, a diverse tax base with significant new construction, strong available current expense fund reserve position and road fund reserve fund position. Again, experienced management with a history of conservative financial practices. We do have the new revenue source and the law adjusted sales tax of 0.3%, projected to cover nearly all the debt service and operations of this project, and a formal reserve fund policy of 20% of the current expense fund with a low amount of debt, less than 1% of the county's assessed value. The county continues to just grow and be strong. A lot of the management you see around the table and our other elected officials continue to instill public confidence in our local governance, and we want to continue to provide that. And we're really hoping that all of this data today you'll find favorable and provide a ratings upgrade.
Yes, please. Just like everyone else asked for that as well.
But we're doing it better than everybody else.
But in regards to our cash position and how we've been handling our budget in the past and again in the future, we hope that is a very attractive, positive reinforcement of our request.
Any questions? Any final questions for us?
Just a couple of requests, or one request and a question. If available, could we get the list of the 10 largest taxpayers for 2025, if that's available yet? And then the question is regarding your capital plan. Last time when we spoke in 2022, what we have is the county does have a comprehensive capital plan that details capital infrastructure needs, but it was last updated in 2018. We're just checking in to see if there's a more updated plan or if there's I guess a different capital improvement plan, and how often is this plan or will this plan be reviewed and updated?
So we've done numerous facilities condition assessments that provide scores for our buildings and provide us the opportunity to forecast out all of our maintenance needs for our buildings all the way through 2035. So a lot of those things haven't necessarily updated as we can continue to project from the processes we have now. I know that next year, we did recently do a change where some buildings that were not under central services are now. We'll be requesting from the commissioners the ability to go out and do facilities condition assessments for those buildings. It is something that we do as we project the life cycle of those buildings, and it's more of an update every year, as not so much every 2 or 3 or 4 years. And currently, the software we were using, the company is no longer supporting, and we're actively looking for a new software platform to continue that work.
Okay.
One thing I was just saying is there's a lot of definitions of capital facilities plan. So
Yes,
I was thinking that
Sorry. Yeah, let me clarify. It's basically like your comprehensive capital plan.
Okay,
The
sorry,
last one was the 2020.
2024, yep,
So,
yeah.
Okay. In that case, could you get a copy of that too, please?
We can
you
provide
get it
that.
from Development Services.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
I was talking asset management, I apologize.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Anything else, Brian?
Nope. Other than that, just no additional questions. And April 1st does work for us. We do have committee on calendar for the afternoon. So I'll call you, Jim, around, let's say between 3 and 3:30 p.m.
Okay,
For the
sounds good.
verbal rating outcome. And the draft rating report should be ready by then as well. But
Okay,
it doesn't have to be reviewed the same day. It could be reviewed the following day if it's more convenient for the city, for the county and the commissioners as well.
okay, that sounds good.
That plan to get to them, and what was the first thing that we need to get to them?
The top 10
Top 10
taxpayers.
taxpayers.
I'll go read it and get it to Jim.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, thank you, Melissa. Well, Brian and Brania, thank you for your time, and commissioners, staff, Brant, great presentation.
Yep. Thank you everyone for your time. Appreciate the level of detail. Yep. That's why I don't have much questions.
So how's the weather in your area?
I'm in Sacramento, so low 60s, cloudy, chilly at night.
Well, we've been in the
It's decent.
40s this week. It's actually a little cooler week, but they're talking about early, low 70s for next week for us. So that'll be quite high for this time of year for us. So it'll be a good change of pace.
Yeah, it sounds nice.
How about you, Brania, in Chicago?
Snowed 2 days ago and now it's 50. So typical Midwest weather.
No?
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you. Good to
Yeah,
see
thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Yep, good to see you.
All right.
Take care.
Yeah, take care. Have a great
Bye.
weekend. Bye.
Thank you.
Next time, tell me to shut up.
Well, that was great.
Nobody else was
Good
speaking.
information.
Nobody else was speaking, so I was like, maybe,
You got us to the answer.
there you go.
Yeah,
Well, honestly, we were like, did we just do that?
yeah, well, we're supposed to do that in budget, at the end of budget too, it's supposed to be updated.
Well, I first thought we were talking about the thing that the community services presents each year to you. That's how I was interpreting that, that we, the capital facility.
Well, you did a great job. Thought that went very smoothly and excellent answers. Caitlin, thanks again for scrolling through all the pages. That was very helpful. Yeah, and Brant, boy, he knows your local economy. He just really delivers very well.
He's on top of it.
Yeah. I guess, what were your thoughts? How did you all think it went?
I knew you were.
I think we're good. We should get a AAA rating.
Yeah. You deserve it.
Well, the worry is how we're a planned reduction in our carryover balance. And I think they took it as a positive, a responsible reason to bring it down. So, it sounded like they liked that explanation.
Yeah, I'm going to check in with Brian probably Monday just to see if he has any questions on that. And just to make sure he was clear on the message of, why you're drawing that down. But I thought you answered that very well, Daryl. The 10-year financial forecast, that was something new that wasn't presented in 2022. So that's a plus. Your economy has continued to grow. So yeah, you all demonstrated, great management. I didn't see any questions that you were, challenged or stumped by. So that was good too. So thanks again for the preparation and rehearsing for the
Well, I
presentation.
like that 3-year average.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, this is a great timing for a 3-year average for us of what's happened in the last 3 years. So that doesn't hurt us.
Yeah. And thanks again, Tom, for leading off and asking for the upgrade.
Yeah, you bet.
Rob, I made a special note. I like the way you answered that question on how you meet every Monday and Tuesday and talk about financials and financings, a couple times a day. So that really demonstrated that the commissioners and elected officials and staff have great communication. Yeah, and overall, I think you just demonstrated outstanding management, growing economy. So now we'll see what S&P decides.
And when will they decide that, Jim?
They'll call me back on April 1st and give me the key factors and the rating grade. And then I'll immediately call Tom and Daryl and update you with that. And then they send out, probably the next morning, they'll send out a draft of the rating report. And they usually give us just a couple hours to review and comment. And it's primarily to look at it to make sure that, they got all the facts right.
Jim, last time we did this, you had kind of a barometer, across the state, across the region. There was more of a tendency to affirm credit ratings than to raise or lower, or does it still seem that way?
It's kind of a toss-up now because of the new criteria they implemented just a few months ago. So it's a tougher call to say, where they're going. And so with that, I sent out last night supporting information, like I sent to S&P, to the 2 bond insurers. So your current rating is a AA-. We're hopeful that you're upgraded to a AA. If not, then we would look at the possibility of bond insurance bids, where for a small fee, one-time upfront fee, you basically buy a bond insurance contract, you buy a AA rating for a one-time upfront fee. And so then we run those numbers and give you the present value analysis if it's cost effective or not to purchase that bond insurance contract.
So how does that apply if we're looking also to possibly call and refinance? Then it's only as good. It doesn't feed into the next refinance.
That's correct. Yeah, it's only good for this issue. Then if you're going to refinance and you wanted to get bond insurance, then you'd have to pay them again.
Yeah. All right.
But that's assuming, that your rating is less than a AA. If your rating is a AA or higher, then there's no cost benefit to get bond insurance.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, well, and you did the presentation in less than 90 minutes, so that's good too. You've got some extra time now.
So it's been a long week.
Right on. Well, thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thank you all. Nice to see you and have a good weekend.
Okay,
Jim, I'm sorry, Jim, before you go, he had mentioned a meeting on April 1st. Is that something that the commissioners need to attend? That we need to put on the calendar?
No, that's not really a meeting. All that is he'll notify me, he'll call me, give me the rating, and then I'll immediately call Tom and Daryl, give them the rating, and then they can relay that to the commissioners and the rest of the elected officials and staff.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We are now out of session until
My last one.
You didn't see your bio either.
March 20th.
You don't know that.
That's what I was like.
No kitchen.